Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News Show. Today, I got a special report that I'm putting out after the Federal Reserve raised the interest rates by 0.5%. I believe that this is the start of the pivot for the Federal Reserve. They were relentlessly raising interest rates 0.75% for several of their last meetings. They went from near zero interest rates all the way up to now it's at 4.25 to 4.50. They also talked quite extensively when Powell finished did his press conference that their estimates are that the peak rate will be about 5 to 5.5%. So, maybe they've got a few more, 2 or 3 more quarter point moves in them before they stop raising interest rates. I think that the main reason that they're slowing down is because the Fed Powell, in a presentation not too long ago, talked about their concern for over tightening. And I think that that's a real concern of theirs. They didn't talk about it in the press conference today, but the fact that they, slowed down the rate of raising interest rates, they did talk about that they are getting close to the peak rate. And I think what's got them worried is that you look at the sales of housing in the United States, and it is fallen through the floor. Dramatic drop in the sales of real estate. That's a big part of the U.S. economy, and it was built on near zero interest rates. And the fact that the way that it's slowing down means that they're going to have to stop raising interest rates. That, a real estate market built on 0% interest rates and an economy built on that, a 5%, currently at 4.25 to 4.5, is a very big move in the interest rates and will cause a slowdown. It's already seen in the housing sales, and I think that's going to continue. Why this is so important for me is because where the US dollar goes, so goes the price of the gold, silver, copper, and other commodities that are priced in the US dollars. And we've seen that for most of 2022. The US dollar had been on a relentless move upwards, a parabolic move for the US dollar index. And while that was happening, the price of gold and silver were getting pummeled. And now, since the market started to feel that they would slow down, the US dollar has started to roll over. It had reached a peak of the US dollar at, what do we got here? The peak on the US dollar was a little over 114 at the end of September. It's now down as of right at the moment to 103.24. That's a 10% correction in the US dollar index in a short few months. And I believe that was happening because the US dollar traders were getting worried that the Federal Reserve was going to stop fueling their relentless bull market that it enjoyed for most of 2022, and it's ending 2022 on a sour note. And meanwhile, while that was happening, gold created a triple bottom from September, right when the US dollar peaked. It went through a triple bottom and then has had a significant breakout since the beginning of November. Gold at that point in time was trading at about 1640. It's right now trading at 1818. So it's seen a very good move upwards as the US dollar has been under pressure. The reason I follow gold so closely is because it is a sentiment driver for the gold stocks. And I think the gold stock, well, and not only is it a sentiment driver for the gold is a sentiment driver for all the metal stocks. And so where gold goes, often you'll see silver, copper, zinc, and other metals go in that same direction. And we saw that today. We're seeing that happen. Silver bottomed in the September at around 1770, currently trading at $24 an ounce. Copper bottomed at around, well, it bottomed in July at around 320 a pound, now trading at $3.86. Other commodities have done very well as of late because of this change that was being anticipated, and now we're seeing the start of the pivot. I think what we're seeing, I've said recently on several shows that the first thing they'll do is slow down to 0.5%. Then they'll do probably 2 or 3 percent moves down, increases, and then they'll stop. After they stop, because the Federal Reserve always seems to overshoot, it used to be you do a couple of moves and wait to see the data. They've done several moves and haven't waited to see the data. They're always behind the data, and they wait for the data to show them. For example, they'll wait until there's a recession before they start acting on the recession. Their actions that we're seeing in the real estate market slowing down so rapidly at the worst rate that it's ever slowed down since they've been keeping records on it, and it's at a very steep drop. All the other drops were kind of gradual. This one has gone down dramatically, and that's a harbinger for a steep decline in the U.S. economy. And so I think that not long after they stop raising interest rates, they're going to be starting to see the recession that will force them into their next quantitative easing. And this will be very bullish bearish for the US dollar and bullish for gold, silver, copper, and other commodities priced in the US dollar. So I believe the best way to play this is in the stocks of the companies that are involved in those commodities. The reason that I say that is they are trading at record lows now, whether you look at the big cap mining, the major mining companies, the developers, the explorers, they've all been beaten down dramatically in 2022. But that party is starting to be over, and we're starting to see a change in direction. Fortunately, I've been following a lot of really good companies and have some excellent sponsors of my shows. And they've been sort of leading the charge, and I think of moving in the positive direction. And I think that they will continue to do that because they have great projects and they're doing a lot of work. So I'm going to get started off with one of my top gold picks, which is i-80 Gold. This is a fairly large company. They have a $800 and some million valuation. But I think the quality of their assets suggests that they are going to be a multi-billion-dollar company. So why I say that, first of all, let's look at their stock chart. I'm going to bring up, which page is it on? Just give me a moment here. I believe it's on this page. I'll share this right now and go to here. Okay, so there's the chart of i-80 Gold. And you see that it was bottoming around the same time that the US dollar and gold, US dollar was topping and gold was bottoming. It bottomed in July at around, let's say, $2.10 a share. Then it started to improve somewhat. And then in early November, it had a massive breakout. That breakout was because they announced that they had hit a CRD Most CRDs only will have lead, zinc, and silver in them. But what makes their CRD in Nevada special is that it also has extreme high-grade gold in it. The news that got that stock moving like that was they had a 10-meter intersection of 60 grams of gold. Let me just pull it up here. Here's the news release. I-80 gold hits hilltop discovery, yields bonanza grade CRD mineralization at Ruby Hill. Results include 60 grams of gold, 908 grams of silver, 15.7% lead, 1.1% zinc over 10 meters. And that's why you saw the stock chart blast off the way it did. And now it's trading aggressively above the 50-day moving average and aggressively above the 200-day moving average. And it just went through a golden cross. Often for technical analysts, when a stock goes over a golden cross, it has a lot higher to go. So then you start looking at the catalysts that can drive that. And what I'm going to do to show you the catalyst is I'm going to share the screen of the Google Earth. And as you can see there, this is the Archimedes pit. It was a pit that was mined by Barrick, and it had a pit wall failure, and they stopped mining there. And this was an oxide gold deposit that they were mining. And then it went through a company called Waterton bought it, and then I-80 Gold bought it off of Waterton. Now, Ewan Downey, who runs the company, is an exceptionally talented deal maker. He got this at a very attractive valuation, and like he has done with several of his assets in the company. And what his modus operandi is that he buys projects at reasonable prices that he thinks that he can enhance with drilling. So then they started drilling to the west of the pit, and they hit thick intersections of very thick intersections, 50, 60, 70 meter intersections of high-grade gold at Ruby Deeps. And they have continued to drill at Ruby Deeps and have continued to find excellent grades and excellent continuity at their Ruby Deeps discovery. Then they started drilling closer to surface and closer to the pit, and they found this I-80 or this 426 zone. Why this 426 zone is very interesting is a couple of reasons. One, it's right underneath that Archimedes pit. Secondly, it has a lot more oxide material in it than they had anticipated. At Ruby Deeps, it's a sulfide deposit, and at 426, it has a significant amount of oxides. Why that's important is you can see the old mine, or the Ruby Hill mine over here, and it has the capacity to process oxide material. So they have a deal with the Nevada Gold, which is a joint venture between Barrick and Newmont, and they have purchased a sulfide refractory ore processing facility that's going to take them a couple years to get running. In the meantime, while they're waiting to get their processing facility up and running, they can run their material through one of the Nevada Gold's joint processing facilities for refractory ore. So that's a very good situation that got even better because of the oxides in the 426 zone. They can put it into production even faster. And again, what makes that 426 zone so exciting, not only is the oxide, but it's also easily accessible because it starts right underneath that pit that you can see on the screen. So that's a hell of an opportunity. And at the bottom of the 426 zone is where Ruby Deep starts. So 426 gives them easy access to mining oxide material that then leads them, that can be attacked through the bottom of the pit, and then they can start getting into the Ruby Deeps material. So it's a world-class discovery of gold on the west side of the pit. So then they started looking at the opportunity for their CRD on the property, and they've made that exceptional discovery of a CRD. Most of these CRDs don't have high-grade gold in them, and their CRD does. What makes it also quite exceptional is that, as you can see at the bottom of this pit, this area here is a alteration zone right where the blackjack skarn is, and a skarn is associated to a CRD. So actually, this body starts somewhere on the north side of the pit, goes underneath the pit, and then you pick it up on the south side where they've been doing all their drilling. I would also point out that you can see some structures here. These structures are very important because they're what allows the metal-bearing fluids to make their way to surface. So in this case, I think what we're seeing here is that the cracks in the earth, these faults, allowed the CRD fluids to make their way, and they're also a conduit for the high-grade gold as well. So this is their #1 project. And to make it even, their story even better, is prior to them drilling the CRD, this was considered their number 2 project. Their #1 project at that time was the Granite Creek project. And what made Granite Creek quite exceptional is that this was also a historic mine that they bought off of Waterton. And they drilled underneath the old mine workings. They found the OG zone. They kept drilling to the north and deeper, and they ran into the South Pacific zone. And the mineralization in that, it's high-grade gold, and it has excellent continuity. Continuity is king in the mining business. Everybody says that grade is king. No, continuity is king, because you can, if you have sporadic distribution of high-grade gold, it's not going to make a mine because you have too much waste in between the high grades. And in their case, they have exceptional continuity over, I think it's nearly 700 meters now. And that's a long strike. They've have mineralization, I think, from top to bottom of about 300 meters or so. What's also interesting about that project is that as they go deeper, the grades are getting higher. What also makes it quite exciting is as they step out to the north, they're in a rock package that's associated to a fault. That fault in that rock package continues beyond their project to the north, where in close proximity is a 25 million ounce gold mine. And so they have a long runway. First of all, they have excellent continuity of the high grade, but it's wide open at depth and to the north. And as they keep on stepping out to the north, you go beyond their property and you see a 25 million ounce gold deposit. So it's, you know, it's elephant country without a doubt. But now they've had all this success at the Ruby Hill project, where they found ruby deeps, the 426, now the CRD. And what makes it even more exciting is they've put out some geophysics that there's a big geophysical anomaly right below that Archimedes pit. And this could be the heat engine that got all of that, the high grade gold and the high grade CRD to surface. That deep porphyry target is also very exciting because they can be really big. So this Ruby Hill project just keeps on giving out great stuff. And that is why the stock blasted off of late. And it's also why this project has now become their #1 project and put their previous #1 project, which is exceptional on its own, down to #2. Then you look at the #3 project, which is their McCoy Cove project, and that's over 1 million ounces of gold at over a 10 gram per ton grade. Those kind of deposits are hard to find in the mining business as well. And then you put all of this together that they're going to have a centralized processing plant that can process all the refractory ore that they have at Ruby Deeps, at Granite Creek and McCoy Cove, and they've got the potential to become a 200 to 500,000 ounce producer over the next, let's say, 2 to 5 years. But this CRD adds a fantastic element to the story because these CRDs can have very high in situ rock values. And they're very low cost and high margin projects. So on a gold equivalent basis, this has the potential to bring them up to that 500,000 ounce producer status over the next, let's say 4, 5, 6 years. So this company that currently has an $800 million valuation has the assets that can see them grow into a $5 billion plus company. It's not very often in the mining sector that you can find a company that has an $850 million valuation that has 5 to 10x potential. But that's the reality of what i-80 Gold has at their various properties and their mining of their processing facilities. Their processing facilities alone, if you had to build them from scratch, would probably cost $1 billion to $1.5 billion. So they're already trading on a discount just on their processing facilities, let alone on their mining, future mining assets. And so i-80 Gold is a cornerstone holding as far as I'm concerned for investors that want access to a gold mining company that can have a low cost of production and be a very high margin producer. Those are the kind of companies that get the premium valuations. And I think that that's what i-80 Gold has in their future. I've said it before that I think that i-80 Gold has is a similar story to a young Barrick. And it took a while before Barrick had 2 world-class projects on their hands. And this company that's only about 1.5 years old, it has already 2 world-class projects in its portfolio. And I think you're going to see this company grow into a massively big gold mining company that has kicks off a lot of free cash flow because they have high grade, high margin, low cost operations. And I think it's one you can hold for a decade. So that's the story on i-80 Gold. So now I'm going to switch to the company that has the project right beside i-80 Gold. Here's their stock chart, which is a company called Paycore. Now, you notice on the stock chart that Paycore also bottomed in November at around, let's say, 90 cents and is currently trading at $1.65. They're trading significantly 41 cents above their 50-day moving average. What got their stock off to the races in November was that they had a news release out that they hit. Let me just pull it up here. This was on November 14th. Paycore Minerals intersects 14.8 meters of 6.3% zinc, 10.3% lead, 376 grams of silver, and 7.1 grams of gold, including 5.8 meters of 9.4% zinc, 3% lead, 248 grams of silver, and 15.9 grams of gold. So here is another project that has a high-grade CRD with zinc, lead, and silver in it, with an overprint of high-grade gold. Now, just have a look at how close they are to I-80. So here you have I-80 Gold. So then I'm just going to zoom out and move slightly to the south. By the way, 1,500 meters of this ground belongs to I-80 Gold. Then you come over here and you run into the Ruby Hill shaft. And that's where Paycore has, underneath that shaft, is where they found their CRD with high-grade zinc, lead, and silver with an overprint of high-grade gold. Let me just stop this for a second and go back to that news release that I pulled up. And what I wanted to show you here on their map, their cross-section, is right about, oh, they don't show it on this one. I'm not going to run around and look at, I'll just show you where it is. Over here, right about here, is where that shaft is that you can see at surface. Then you go down about 500 meters and you have a historic resource with excellent grades of nickel, zinc, lead, silver, and gold. Then they've stepped, this is in the black circle. Then they stepped over here and they continued to hit a CRD. In fact, this is a classic looking CRD, and it's wide open to keep growing as well. Now let's go back to that map that shows the, there we go, Google Earth. Pull Google Earth up again. So this Ruby Hill, not only do they have, over here they have an oxide resource or an oxide discovery with a big alteration package, and then you follow it deeper over in this direction and down about 500 meters is where they have that CRD with the high-grade zinc, lead, silver, and gold. So I'm really excited about this because I think what you're seeing between the between what I-80 Gold has just a couple thousand meters to the north, then what Paycore has is going to make this one of the most important exploration plays in Nevada. And I think that Paycore and I-80 Gold are going to be the ones that drive that. Of course, I-80 Gold is the elephant in the room, if you will, with what they have at their Archimedes pit. But that Ruby Hill project, or the project right here at Ruby Hill, this is the actual Ruby Hill mine, is quite exceptional, and is why the stock has been performing so well And I think it will continue to perform very well. As I-80 Gold announces results, they seem to follow the pattern of the stock going up. And I-80 Gold has been drilling aggressively on that CRD. So they have a bunch of results to put out. And I think that anything they put out is also helpful to Paycore because of how close they are to I-80 Gold. So then we go to the next company on the list. The next stock on the list is, let's go to over here, and we're going to go to Little Golden Lake Exploration. Notice how they bottomed in November, down around 4 cents a share. The stock has been moving up as Paycore and I-80 have been making good news. It's now trading at 11 cents. It's significantly above its 50-day moving average, is also trading above its 200-day moving average. And it looks like the 50-day moving average is headed towards a golden cross in the next month or so, maybe 6 weeks. And the reason that it's exciting is that you look at these, they were in there drilling for a CRD even before I-80 Gold and Paycore. But look at what they had reported in 2020. They had a 24-meter intersection with 9 grams of gold, 65 grams of silver, 1% lead, and 2% zinc. They also included in that was 3.23 meters that had 56 grams of gold, 422 grams of silver, 7.23% lead, and 12% zinc. These are the same kind of things that that I-80 Gold and Paycore are finding. So let's now go back to our favorite exploration tool, which is Google Earth. And I'm going to zoom out a little. So now you've got I-80 Gold with the CRD there, with a very high grade of lead, silver, zinc, and an overprint of high-grade gold. You go down here to Ruby Hill, same thing. High-grade CRD with zinc, lead, silver, and an overprint of high-grade gold. Then you follow a little further down here, and in here, near the old Eureka tunnel, where the old timers had moved a lot of material around, there's the actual tunnel. And over in here is where they drilled a CRD with high-grade zinc, lead, silver, and an overprint of high-grade gold. So this is why, this whole corridor is why I think that Eureka, Nevada, right beside the town of Eureka, Nevada, is going to become the most important exploration district in all of Nevada. And that's saying a lot, but the reason that I can say that comfortably is you've got Ruby Deeps, you've got the 426 zone, that's a high-grade gold system. Beside it, you've got a CRD that also has a high-grade gold overprint. To the south of that, you've got Paycore that has a high-grade CRD with an overprint of high-grade gold. Follow that slightly more to the south, you've got Golden Lake that has also drilled into a CRD with high-grade zinc, lead, silver, and an overprint of high-grade gold. When you look at the in-situ value of the CRDs with the high-grade overprint of gold, these are some of the best in-situ values of metals in a CRD and in reality of any metal anywhere in the world. This is the emergence of a majorly important region of Nevada that I-80 Gold and Paycore and Golden Lake Exploration is involved with. Now, it gets even better because I'm going to stop share here and I'm going to go back to this page. I'm going to share that. I'm going to go over to Timberline. Timberline has the property right to the south of Golden Lake. And at Timberline, they have a resource with a very good grade resource that as they expand on it, the grade's getting even better as they move over to the east. And right beside that, you have this huge IP anomaly. And right beside that, you've got two structures that intersect at the Oswego project, where they had hit in channel samples 14 grams of gold, 12 grams of gold over 26 and 27 meters. That is what I think is happening here, or at least the potential is that whatever caused this big IP anomaly that has faults going through it has likely been what caused this mineralization to the west and to the east. Now, they drilled some holes to the north, and it's near a key fault, but they're still a little ways from that fault, which is likely the conduit for, they've got sniffs of a CRD to the north of the resource. That's very exciting because I'm going to stop share and I'm going to go back to Google Earth and watch how these yellow pins are lining up. CRD, I-80 gold CRD with high-grade gold in it. You've got Paycore's high-grade CRD with high-grade gold overprint. You've got Golden Lake with their high-grade gold, or their high-grade CRD with the high-grade gold overprint. And then you follow just a little bit down and look at what this nice little corridor here is, the Lookout Mountain, where you have that resource that Timberline is expanding on. And right in here, you've got that big geophysical anomaly. You've got Oswego to the east. This whole corridor, I believe, and Timberline owns ground way down to here. Timberline actually has the largest land package in this area, this Eureka camp. And but look at the way these faults are all lining up. The mineralization is lining up. These three companies have all found CRDs with high-grade zinc, lead, silver, and a high-grade gold overprint. This whole area here is the area that I believe is going to become the most important exploration region in Nevada. And that's no small statement, at least when it comes to the smaller explorers and the developer stage of things. So that's my Eureka camp area. The next company that I'm going to go to is, let me get my list out here, is another company that's also in Nevada. Oh, by the way, those four companies are all sponsors of my website, on my shows. I do those on YouTube at Rocks and Stocks News. You can go check out interviews that I've done with all of them. Another company that recently had some excellent news out and just became a sponsor is a company called BlackRock Silver. So what did BlackRock Silver really recently come up with that I did an interview with their CEO, Andrew Pollard? BlackRock discovers bonanza grades a new vein at Silver Cloud, 52.6 grams of gold and 606 grams of silver over 1.5 meters in their Northwest Canyon project. Now I'm going to switch back to the Google Earth, and I'm going to bring up for you where is it here? Just give me a second. I'll find it on my list. Where is the I'm just trying to find it for you. I'm having troubles here, folks. Sorry about that. I may not have marked it on the map. Oh, I hope I didn't do that. Because I wanted to talk to you about their silver cloud project, and I think I made the mistake of not putting a pin out for it. I'm sorry about that. But okay, actually, I know what I can do. I can just go to the Hollister mine, because they're right beside the Hollister mine. And okay, there we go. So Hollister is right in here, right there. And then over here is the Silver Cloud project. And on the west side of the Silver Cloud project, I believe it's somewhere, I think this is the Northwest Canyon here. In close proximity to that, they hit that high-grade material. And over in a nice epithermal vein. These epithermal veins generally run between 1 and 4 meters. Not far from them is the Midas mine, which was an epithermal vein as well. It actually is the starting project that got Franco-Nevada. That was their first royalty project. I'm just zooming over here. So here's the Midas mine, and that's an epithermal vein. Then you go over here to, just going to zoom out so I can see it a little bit better. You go over, and not very far away is where you find the Hollister mine. And then you go over here and you find where they hit this thick or this nice epithermal vein with high-grade gold and silver. So that on its own is quite an exciting project for an explorer, but that's not the only asset that they have. Because while they started out with this project Silver Cloud a few years ago, and things got very exciting, but then a couple years ago, they were able to grab the Tonopah West project. And here's the town of Tonopah. The town of Tonopah was built because of the silver mines over on this side of the town. They were able, and for many decades, nothing was happening because there was a patchwork of claims over here, the guys at BlackRock were able to consolidate that all into one project. They've also expanded to ground over here and up over here as well. So at Tonopah, they have been drilling down in here underneath the town. In fact, they tell you that one of their drill rigs is parked at the Burger King, I believe it is. And underneath here is where they're finding a network of epithermal veins with a resource of, right now, I believe it's around 50 million ounces of silver, with an average grade of 404 grams per ton of silver. Now that's, just to put that into context, Mag Silver currently has a valuation north of $1 billion, and they have the Juanicipio mine in Mexico, and that is a big silver mine, and it's an epithermal vein system. And it's a cash machine, and their average grade is only 350 grams. So that's a very exciting grade that they have. And what another comparable that you can use is the Las Chispas mine that Silvercrest has. And Silvercrest has, it's kind of a freak of nature in that The average grade of silver at Las Chispas, which is also an epithermal vein system, has a grade of almost 900 grams per ton of silver. And it's a cash machine with a low cost of production and a high margin. I think they're looking at a few dollars an ounce of silver is their cost. So it's going to be an absolute cash machine. Why that is an important comparable to what the guys at BlackRock have is when they did their first resource calculation, that they had around the same amount of ounces and around the same grade as what BlackRock has in their resource. And now, so what happened is they've then focused in on their zones where they knew that they could increase the ounces and increase the grade. And that's what brought them up almost to a 900 gram per ton silver resource. And they started at the same place as where BlackRock has started. BlackRock also has a network of epithermal veins. They believe that they can now focus in on the highest grade shoots, if you will, in those epithermal veins. They remain to be wide open. They've done expansion drilling. I think that they've extended it by almost double the size. And so they've got a lot of room, a lot of runway to keep increasing the ounces of silver and increasing the grade. And I think that what they have in Tonopah is a company maker, but now they got one of the great problems in exploration is that they now also have found on their Silver Cloud project excellent over mineable widths. They found excellent grades of high grade gold and silver. This makes for a phenomenal story. Now, I'm going to go back and look at their chart because I think that these guys are extremely undervalued. And let me bring up went to the wrong page. So here is BlackRock's chart. And you can see that they bottomed out, coincidentally enough, after they put out that exceptional resource at Tonopah. They bottomed at about 35 cents in September. And then they started to improve. And now they're trading right on their 50-day moving average. But I think what you're going to see here in the not too distant future, once the tax law selling season is over, which is maybe 10 days from now, I think that you're going to start to see this chart trending upwards quite aggressively and heading towards a golden cross. Because now, well, they never stopped drilling at Tonopah. They have a ton of results to come out from there. A lot of that is expansion drilling, and now they get to focus on increasing the grade and the size of the deposit based on what they've learned from their near surface drilling down to only a few hundred meters at Tonopah. And then they got to get back up to Silver Cloud and drill some more there as well. They also have a lithium project that looks quite exciting as well. So this company has a lot on the go, and I think that you're going to see this stock chart start to move up quite nicely in the near term and maybe have a golden cross that takes it dramatically higher. So that's the BlackRock story. Before I leave Nevada, I'm going to go to Walker River Resources. Walker River is also a sponsor of my website. As you can see, they bottomed in early December and have traded now aggressively above their 50-day moving average. They're trading right on their 200-day moving average. The 50-day moving average is heading towards a golden cross, probably in the next 4 weeks or so. The reason I have confidence to say that is that they've recently completed 2 drill programs, one on their Pikes Peak project and one on their Laboucan gold project. At Pikes Peak, they believe that they could have the heat engine for the mineralization that got into Laboucan. Let me go to my trusty Google Earth. I'm going to get back on Google Earth, share that, and I'm going to go to Laboucan. Switching to the west side of, through the magic of Google Earth, I'm now at Laboucan Canyon. Over here, over in this area is their Pikes Peak target where they are drilling for a porphyry. Those results are pending. Here at Laboucan, basically from this side to this side, they have been drilling in the mountains from the side of the mountain, which is challenging when you want to try to show continuity, because you're hanging off the side of a mountain and it's logistically challenging. But they have about a 600 meter wide distribution of high grade gold from side to side, and then you go to the top of the mountain, you see this road up here, and up here they have their hot spot where they had excellent grades of high grade over nice intersections. You go a little bit further and you get to the top where it flattens out here. What's important about this area is that from here, you don't have to drill from the side of a mountain anymore. You can start drilling from the top of the mountain and drill down into the hot spot. And I think that what that will do is give them an understanding of the geology that will then enable them to keep following that gold, that high-grade gold, and connect all of this into one big high-grade gold system with exceptional continuity. The reason that I say that with a fair bit of confidence is that you can see a lot of alteration in here. You can also see faulting. The alteration is when the metal-bearing fluids hit the country rock, it alters the country rock, and you can see the alteration. It's a big alteration zone that suggests that you've got a very powerful, high-grade gold mineralizing system. And it continues from the top of the mountain all the way down to the bottom where you've got Laboucan Canyon. And in fact, it continues all the way up here where you've got another important fault with cross-cutting faults coming off of it and big alteration and historical mining. So I think you've got a world-class target here, and they have a bunch of drill holes in pending. And I think the optimism towards them having hit some good stuff is why you've seen the stock performing the way it has been. And I believe they've got the potential to come up with some excellent results in the not too distant future. And that's why you've been seeing their stock chart getting a lot stronger. And I think it will continue to get stronger. Here, let me pull that up again before I leave Walker. Again, trading aggressively above its 50-day, and now trading above it, had traded above its 200-day. The 50-day is moving towards a golden cross, and they have plenty of catalysts with having recently finished 2 drill programs on 2 different targets. One at the Pikes Peak, which is the potential heat engine for the mineralization that caused all that alteration at the Laboucan Mountain, and likely followed those cracks in the earth, those faults that you can see at Laboucan Canyon, and then going up the Laboucan Mountain. And by the way, where they've drilled a lot of high-grade gold from the side of that mountain, I think they've got an exceptional project in Nevada as well. All right. Now, now I'm going to go over and talk about Sokoman. Let me pull this up, and which one do I want? This is the one I want. Screen share, and oh, wrong one. Sorry about that. I'm going to stop share that. I went to the wrong page, as I can do. So let's start with their stock chart. There's the Sokoman stock chart. As you can see, it bottomed in September. The 50-day moving average is bullish. They're trading almost right in the middle of their 50-day and their 200-day. The 50-day is suggesting that they're going to go through a golden cross within a couple of weeks. The catalyst that can drive that is their project called Moosehead. This is the news release. Sokoman reports the thickest high-grade drill results from the lower eastern trend to date at the Moosehead Gold Project in central Newfoundland. Their 463 hole cut 39.6 meters of 12.5 grams of gold, including 10.25 meters of 41.97 grams. In fact, there was another sub-interval in that which had 3 meters of 102 grams. So some very sweet high grade. Now, here you can see what they call their eastern trend. And they had been hitting high grade gold along this eastern trend. It wasn't over thick intersections, but nonetheless, they were hitting high grade gold. This is an orogenic gold system, by the way. And these orogenic gold systems can go down for thousands of meters. They're big cracks in the earth that allow the fluids to make their way up. The most famous one that people will have heard of is the Fosterville mine in Australia, that they found the Swan Zone. Kirkland Lake mined that Swan Zone. It was extremely high grade, low cost, very high margins. Those high margins drove their valuation. They were one of the best performing gold stocks in the business, and ultimately they got bought out. And so looking for a Swan Zone is very exciting in an orogenic gold system. I think that they are hitting the top of a Swan Zone that in this 463 zone that was on the news release. And here's a very exciting image I want to show to you. Sorry, I got to the wrong page. Here we are. I'm going to zoom. I'm going to scroll down quickly. And here you have where they hit the 463 pierce point with that 39 grams of gold over 12, or 39 meters of 12.5 grams of gold and 10 meters of 41.97 grams. So as you can see here, the red is that eastern trend I was telling you about. Then they actually drilled a couple holes that ended, and they didn't quite get to this this new zone. What's really important about this is a model that was, the reason that they were able to get this model was because they had an expert a structural expert who looked at the data. They put a camera down that hole, and they were able to look at the geology and the vein and the orientation and what was going on around it. And he has modeled this new zone. As you can see, the eastern zone, and it was coming in from towards the east, and now they have one coming up from the west at a different angle. Why that's important is if you go down here to this is a model of the Swan Zone, and as you can see, you've got zones coming this way, and then you have a different orientation. That's the actual Swan Zone right in there. So now I'm going to go back, and this is the same kind of story. And what makes it quite interesting is this is a lot closer to surface, only a few hundred meters from surface, whereas you had to go down quite deep. Here's the difference. Here is where 1,000 meters, just a little under 1,000 meters to get to the Swan Zone. They're finding it in the first 300 meters, 250 meters vertically, actually, is where they're finding this. Now, to make matters even more exciting is that right now they're drilling for this to get into this new 463 jewelry box zone. And I'm tremendously excited. I can't wait until they announce. They should be now down to where they're probably hitting some alteration. Again, where these gold-bearing fluids make their way up, they alter the rock around them chemically. And before you hit the zone, you usually hit alteration. I have a feeling they're probably in the alteration or getting close to it and getting close to that 463 zone. And that is happening as we speak right now. So I'm very excited about Sokoman, and I think that they've got a bright future ahead of them because of Moosehead. They also have a lithium project, a cesium project, but this is the jewel in the crown of their assets, and they're drilling it right now. And I can't wait to see it because I think they're on the top of a swan zone. And if it was able to make over $1 billion company into a $20 billion company, just imagine what it can do for a company with a $50 million valuation, $50 million valuation. It can send it into orbit. And I think that they're drilling for a moonshot, if you will, right as we speak. So that's their story. Okay, I've got one more company to cover. I wanted to go to 9 Mile. 9 Mile is a very unique story. Back in the summertime, they went through a golden cross. Then they traded. As you can see, here's why golden crosses are so important. Look at how this 50-day moving average just keeps going up and up and up. And so here, and the 200-day moving averages. So this channel, this bullish channel of the 200-day and the 50-day is very exciting. Right now, they're trading right at the 50-day and aggressively above the 200-day. That's what you see when you are after a golden cross. So then let's go to their, where is it here? So they announced a discovery at they're going off of geophysics here. They're in one of the most important VMS mining camps in the world. And at their California Lake project, they hit 18.38% combined zinc and lead in their drilling at their California Lake that they found through geophysics. And prior to that, what really got their golden cross to happen was when they found a high-grade lens. And this had 10 meters and up to over 10% copper. It had copper, zinc, lead, and silver. And now I want to go into Google Earth, and I want to tell you why this is so impressive. And I just have to bring up the California Lake. So now we're going to go over to New Brunswick. And in New Brunswick, this region here is called the Bathurst Mining Camp. And it is the third most important VMS mining camp in the world. The granddaddy of them all is Brunswick 12. This was a 300 million ton VMS mine that was just puts it in one of the top 4 or 5 VMS mines in the world. Then you zoom out a little here. This Brunswick 6 was an important mine. You look down here, Heath Steel was an important mine. Then you zoom out, and you can see in about a 20-mile or 20-kilometer radius here, California Lake. They used geophysics to find a VMS over 4, 5, 6 intersections of VMS over about a 10-meter intersection with high grade in it. And that's in the, I want people to understand, that's at the top of a VMS system. You're hitting thick intersections of high grade. But what really got the ball rolling for 9 Mile was over here, about 10 kilometers from the Brunswick mine. They found this high-grade lens. And I'm just going to change the angle here a little bit so it's a little easier for you to see. But I'm going to zoom into here. And along here, you have a geophysical anomaly with a rock package that comes all the way down to here. And then there's a hinge in the geophysics and the rock package. That is a likely candidate of where that 10-meter thick, high-grade copper, zinc, lead, silver, and gold lens came from, is right down here at the hinge. They're drilling for that hinge as we speak right now. That's very exciting. But what also makes this whole story exciting is they're using a company called EarthX. And EarthX is, it's a big data company that they use algorithms to filter out the geophysical noise to then vector into where you should look for massive sulfides. And so far, they're 2 for 2. They hit at California Lake massive sulfides. They hit at the 9 Mile lens sulfides. And now they're drilling an anomaly that is in close proximity to this lens where there's a hinge. But the story doesn't actually stop there, because these VMS deposits, they occur in clusters. And I just am going to zoom in here to this 9 Mile lens area. There's a big geophysical anomaly here that you can also see quite a significant structural story here. Right here, you've got a bend in the rocks. That's a good place to have a VMS come up. Then you've got a structure coming this way that breaks that and seems to move it over quite significantly. So you've got this with a couple of nice bends to it. You've got this intersection of the two there. You've got another one coming off of here. You got the displacement of this one. This is all an excellent place to be looking for a VMS deposit. Then you got this fault, and it cross cuts there. And right at that hinge is another. Over here, you've got another, you can see another hinge over here in the geophysics. I think that this company, not only do they have the chance to find the potential jewel in the crown for the entire camp at this 9 Mile lens and the source of where it comes from. The reason I say that is that at this lens, they have the highest grade occurrence of copper, zinc, silver, lead, gold anywhere in this entire elephant country mining camp for VMS deposits. And now they're drilling for the source potential of where that lens came from. They find that source, and the lens, when you have 10-meter thick intersection coming right to surface with high grades in it, it speaks volumes about where that where the source is should also be big, thick, and high grade. And that's what makes up for big VMS discoveries. Now, when you're looking at a camp that already 10 kilometers away from it has a 300 million ton VMS, you're definitely in elephant country, and now you've got the highest grade occurrence of massive sulfides 10 kilometers anywhere in the entire region. The entire Bathurst mining camp, you have the highest intersection of massive sulfides anywhere in the camp. 9 Mile, I'm going to stop sharing here. currently has a valuation of only about 14 or 15 million. And I think they are on the verge of making a fantastic discovery. I think what they've already shown in one of the most important VMS mining camps in the world is exciting. But then when you add in the grades and the fact that they're finding these with geophysics, that is 2 for 2 using big data and algorithms to filter out the noise, geophysical noise, and vector into where they have a bunch more of these geophysical anomalies. And they've got all these structural stories as well. It's a tremendously exciting company. And I think that this one easily has 10x plus potential in it. That's the final company I'm going to talk about today. I just wanted to quickly show you a chart for, no, not massive sulfides here. I wanted to show you a chart going back to what I started on, which was the price of gold. And what I'm going to do here is, this is IAU, the ETF that tracks the price of gold, and it tracks it pretty much to the minute. You saw, like in gold, you saw a triple bottom, then it broke out. Right around the time that the US dollar came under pressure. It's now trading significantly above the 50-day moving average. It's now trading above the 200-day moving average. The 50-day moving average is going towards a golden cross in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And I think you're going to see that 50-day and 200-day moving upwards, and the price of gold getting a lot higher due to what I talked about at the start of this show. So I planned on making this a quick show, but it's gone on a little longer than I thought. But there you go. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it with the price of gold, silver, copper, other precious or other metals. When it comes to these companies and what they're finding with the truth machine. And there you go. I think you got a great group of companies to speak with your financial advisors about. Do your homework. I've interviewed all of these companies. Go to my YouTube channel at Rocks and Stocks News and do your homework. You can start your homework by listening to the interviews that I've done with executives of the company shortly after they did put out important news. Go to their websites, check out their news releases, check out their corporate presentations, and I think you'll understand why I'm so bullish on these companies and why I think that most of them have bucked the trend of a lot of junior mining companies and even big mining companies. And when you get a bull market starting for the price of gold, it's the companies that have been bucking the trend going into that are the best performers when that bull market starts. And I think we're in the early stages of a bull market for gold, and I think it's got a hell of a lot of legs for it. On that note, have a great day, and we will talk to you soon.